Every offseason has its own path, and today we're realizing that the Chiefs' way is always one that sets the foundation and layers on top. Can they get it all done? You never know with this team 177. We're going to explore it today with Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest. Welcome to Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, friends and neighbors. It is free agency, and we are still in the thick of it. I'd call this Wave 3. We're going to discuss it with Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com, your man on the beat, because there's a lot of rumor and a little bit of smoke, and maybe there's some flame coming as well. We're going to get into all of that today and answer all of your questions through it, because I know you have plenty of them, and I got them all right here. We're brought to you today by Ultimate Football GM. It is the easiest way for you to be a GM and play the game year after year, all the way through, I think, 50 seasons. So you can be Brett Veach, and you can develop your way. It can be everything that you want. It's over at ultimate-gm.com. You can download it from the App Store as well. And right now, our listeners are getting a 100% boost on their franchises when you use that promo code Locked On. That is all one word in caps in the game. So check out Ultimate Football GM. We're going to get to the bottom of this. He's Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com, beat reporter. I'm Ryan Tracy, founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, where you can get the athletic matrix right now. I'll have a banner for you, and I got a secret for you right now. Just because you guys are watching, check this out. Matrix LOC, you can get a nice discount because the Matrix version 1 is out now. The draft guide is in production, and Matrix version 2 will come out just before the draft for all the updates. Don't miss out on it. We're going to talk about that as well as NFL33.com and RGR Football, which you can find some other work there. But thanks for making us your first listen. Check out another Locked On show for your next listen, because we are available on YouTube and all the platforms for free. Go check that out. Matt, we have to start with what has been maybe a surprising turn here in the second wave, and now I think we're entering the third. But overall, this has been maybe a little bit more active than we expected in some ways in terms of new free agents, maybe a little more active than I expected in terms of guys leaving the roster. Right now, the comp pick scenario is pretty even. Did you expect it to kind of work out this way with a lot of guys going out the door and finding new homes?
Yeah, to me, I think the Chiefs were a bit more active both in the first wave and the second wave. It took Chiefs and Brett Veach a little while to get involved in the first wave of free agency. But once they did, picking up a left tackle and another edge rusher, that's a pretty good return for the first wave of free agency. But then to be amongst the first teams to really jump in that second wave and picking up, I think, some really nice pieces in Drew Tranquil and Mike Edwards. I mean, those are sneaky good moves by Brett Veach and his staff. They have been a little bit more aggressive than maybe you would have anticipated. You knew they were going to lose a lot of guys. I mean, and I think obviously they're still going to lose some. I've been surprised at a couple of the guys that they have been able to get back as quickly as they did. I thought that some guys like Derek Nottie and Nick Allegretti might take a little more time to see what was out there. But being able to get back some role players and niche players that you need and backups, I think at this point the Chiefs have to be pretty happy with the way that free agency's unfolded through the first week.
Yeah, I can't argue with you. I have to say that. And those two guys in particular, the most recent re-additions, I will call them, in Allegretti and Nottie, I thought were both guys that will balance out the free agent thing. You're not going to get comp picks for anything like that. I thought Allegretti in particular had a chance to go be a starter elsewhere. I thought Chicago was a pretty sure bet. I'm surprised at the way that fell out. But in the end, those are two nice pickups. I don't have the contract numbers for Nottie yet. If you do, tell me I'm crazy. But I feel like that's a pretty responsible, low-impact contract as well, to have a guy who not only knows the system, but can give you the reps that you need in rotation. But this all plays into the bigger aspect. We're going to talk about Drew Tranquil, Mike Edwards coming up, and then some later additions. What are they going to do at wide receiver and all the rumor mill? We'll get to that in the third segment here later, folks. But for right now, we take the 30,000-foot view and letting some guys go, making targeted acquisitions at positions of need to shore up the big holes. This seems to be the foundational philosophy behind Brett Veach and what the Chiefs way has become. Do you see it differently? Is there something I'm missing, or is this just a little bit more flexible year to year than what it seems to be to me?
No, I think you kind of hit on it. I mean, and the Chiefs way, I mean, if we're really, defining the Brett Veach philosophy, melded with Andy Reid, I mean, I think there's certainly some characteristics that we're used to that the Chiefs are continuing to expand upon. I mean, I think that the days other than some, superstar players and the Chiefs investing in players beyond, age 30, those aren't going to happen. I mean, they're going to be pretty reluctant on those deals. The other things that the Chiefs are going to do is that they're going to be pretty picky too when it comes to giving guys second contracts. And I think that's something that's kind of around the league a little bit. And, in this past week's been a pretty good example of that. The Chiefs have let go quite a few guys, who would be going on to second contracts and letting them go to other teams who obviously value them more than the Chiefs do. Conversely, the Chiefs are picking up players on second contracts that they value more than their current teams have. So that to me it's an interesting thing that I think is just across the NFL. I think more and more teams are doing that as far as letting their own free agents walk and taking chances on other teams. But I think that one thing that is pretty, standard though, is that the Chiefs have a type when it comes to free agency, and it's team guys. I mean, it's players that they are comfortable with, players whom they have, investigated in the past, that they have tried to see if they're a good cultural fit for this team. I think pretty much all the free agents that they've signed are all team guys that they would have been interested in the draft when they came out. That's pretty consistent. All these players, so far from what we've, the ones we've been able to talk to and what we all know about them, they seem like they're going to be natural fits to this locker room. And that is one of the most defining characteristics that Brett Veach looks for, is that he wants guys who are going to come in and be good players, but he wants them to be good presence in the locker room. This is not a team that wants to have a lot of drama in the locker room or a lot of divas.
I like the way that you put that too, because that's not something that's readily apparent on film when you watch games on broadcast, or even if you're in the stadium. I think that is the mesh that becomes the locker room, that becomes the culture of a franchise like this, especially after 3 Super Bowl appearances in 4 years. I think that becomes more and more important in terms of keeping the whole momentum of the franchise moving forward, not allowing things to get rocked too much. I did notice you talked about 30-year-old guys. We're going to talk about them coming up in the third segment, but I do want to pour one out here for the 2019 class. Until Nick Allegretti returned, this entire class was out the door. Now there's still some question there. There is McCole Hardman, who I don't know is finding the market that he wanted. We'll talk about him as well as some of the acquisitions that are now on this roster coming up next. But I got to tell you guys first, get into the swing, because there's no better time right now than March Madness to get your money into the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now they're giving you a no-sweat first bet. Makes things super easy. You lay your first bet. If it doesn't come through and win, you get up to $1,000 in bonus bets applied to your account that you can use again. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, easy to use, and they can let you bet on anything, whether it's offensive boards, whether it's three-pointers, whether it's the number of assists that one particular point guard is going to put up that game. Lord knows we can't bet on the Jayhawks anymore. Thanks there, Rock Chuck. But hey, you can't always win them all. FanDuel lets you roll all those together in a same game parlay and make your payout even bigger. So don't miss your no sweat first bet chance right now with $1,000 in bonus bets available to you when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's underneath here. You should be able to see now. It is, after I take the banner off, going to show you that it is FanDuel.com/lockedon, and that's how you can get that deal. You can go there and learn more. It is making every moment count with FanDuel, the official sportsbook part of the NBA and the NFL. Check that out. I think the more important piece of where we're going, because it's good to get splashy names, it's good to take care of things, but now it's about filling in the cracks, the smaller spaces. And that's not to say that it has to be draft choices, because I don't want to diminish their impact. Clearly, if anybody knows the impact of young and rookie draft classes in the last couple of years, it is Kansas City. But McColl's situation is interesting. He's coming off of an injury, and so I do think he has still a role, maybe to continue what his previous role was, that he's in a position to come back and fill. I just can't decide if the injury is holding him back, if it's performance, or if it's just temporary. And in this third wave that's coming, if they're going to get an opportunity to go elsewhere, he and his representatives, or if he ends up back in Kansas City, do you have a feel for that right now?
Yeah, I think right now, I think the surgery is what's holding him back. Remember, McColl is not ability to get on the field right now. The surgery he underwent, usually 6 to 8 weeks before you'd really get comfortable getting back on the field. And there's probably some legitimate question about just how, involved that McColl would be able to be in OTAs if he signs with a new team. So I would expect that, for him to be able to get value, he's going to need to be able to get on a field, pass a physical, do all those things with a new club. So that there's no doubt. I mean, as far as the injury goes, it really torpedoed his kind of contract year plans. And that really does. I mean, puts McCollum into a difficult situation because now, hey, there may be a team out there that's willing to give him a multi-year deal or an incentive-laden deal that, he could play into a multi-year contract. But the other possibility is that, hey, if McCollum's not able to get onto a team, during OTAs and work with a new quarterback, is he better off trying to come back to Kansas City for one season on a prove-it deal and then be able to hit free agency again next year after he's been in a season with his comfortable quarterback and an offense that he knows? That's going to be tricky. I mean, like I said, there will probably be some teams who would be willing to invest with McCollum once he's healthy.
Now, if McCollum does return, I think that does feel a role. We'll see what it becomes, especially when we know they need to get snaps to some of the younger guys. But that's a gap. It's not a huge gap, but it is a crack. Another thin crack is what I think has become the basis of what Steve Spagnuolo wants to do in the secondary, and that is the 3 safety set. We saw Mike Edwards get signed here to fill part of that role. Now, for you and I don't know, folks, between you and me, if there's any two bigger Brian Cook fans here than what we are right here. How does that affect, and what do you see the role for Edwards in coming into what is a position that obviously has Justin Reed at the front of it, but Brian Cook with some significant experience at this point?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the 3 safety look because I think that's why you do bring a Mike Edwards in, not only for, his experience and ability to step into the starting lineup if you need it. He could come in, he could replace, Justin Reed if Reed's down for a little bit. He can replace, Brian Cook if needed. I mean, that's the great value in what you're looking for in a third safety is not only to be that guy that in some games is going to play 20% of the snaps and other games might play 70, with the Chiefs defense and the way that they deploy that third safety. So you need a guy who's flexible, who can do a lot of different things, but you also want somebody who can step into the lineup if needed. And that's why, to me, Edwards checks all those boxes. He's been extremely productive. He's very versatile. He can do a lot of different things. So to me, that's why that's a sneaky good signing to me because it upgrades the Chiefs' back bench.
Well, and it's not just the safety position as well, but they added what I think is a unique defender, a guy that I had thought maybe would come here a year or two ago, the last time he was available in free agency. Drew Tranquil ends up on this roster, a guy that I think still has good coverage skills, is kind of the puzzle piece that fits into forward-playing players like Nick Bolton and Willie Gay. What do you see the role, and what does this signing give you a hint of?
Yeah, to me, this is, again, you're talking about building that bench. You're talking about building your depth. Drew Tranquil is that. I mean, another sneaky good signing by Veach and the staff, because to me, you're not bringing in Drew Tranquil with the linebacker group that you've got right now to be a starter. But what can he be? He's your immediate backup at all 3 positions. He's flexible enough to do that. He can be a third down guy. He can come in specific packages and situations. More importantly, he can be the backup behind Nick Bolton as the Mike linebacker who can call the defense and has some experience. And you don't have to shove that onto Leo Chanel's plate right now if you don't want to. Certainly, that was one of the allures of drafting Chanel last year is the Chiefs felt like that he can be a backup to the Mike and fill in for Bolton if they ever needed that. But Tranquil gives you just that much more experience and depth at that position. So now, you've got a guy at all 3 linebacker spots that you feel like can come in there and you're going to lose guys. I mean, look at the last few years with the Chiefs. They've had to go to their backup linebacker at some point for an extended period of time. And the last couple of years, that's been Darius Harris. Darius is a nice player, but he has not had the productivity that Drew Tranquil has. He is not the pass defender that Drew Tranquil is. So that, to me, it's a huge upgrade for the Chiefs from just a backup standpoint. I think he'll get a lot of snaps, even with the way that the Chiefs do deploy their linebackers. I think they'll work him in. But to me, it's the niche packages, it's the specific looks, third down looks, where I think that Tranquil will probably have his biggest role, barring an injury of the starters.
Well, and I'll take it a step further. I agree with you there. And I've also theorized that if they want to play more 3-4 looks on early downs, then you can have 2 Mike type backers on the field. But I'll say this too, Darius Harris, you have a good point because he ended up spelling Willie Gay more so than I would like. I'm waiting for Willie Gay to be a never come off the field player, which he has the athleticism to do. I'm not sure why it's not there yet. We haven't explored yet that this season. But if you're going to sub him, now I think you put yourself in a better position with subbing with Tranquil, especially on third down type plays, rather than Darius, who I think was more sequestered to like first and second down, possible run action, maybe some play action, that kind of thing. I think this makes you more multiple all the way around. And I like what it does in pushing Willie Gay to really take that next step. Do you see it that way as well?
Yeah, I do. I absolutely think that. I mean, this a kind of move like this, it opens up a lot of possibilities. I mean, it gives you a lot of flexibilities, from a roster construction standpoint. Especially for the Chiefs, that hey, they've gone as lean as only carrying 4 linebackers at times, and Drew Tranquil's a guy that you could get away with that. I mean, he's flexible enough that you could, and I think you're right. I mean, there's reason to look at Tranquil and say, hey, wait a minute, this guy's a starter and a productive starter in this league. If for some of these guys, maybe look over their shoulder and say, wait a minute, is he here to challenge me? Is he here to, put a boot into place for me? That's a legitimate question, I think, for some of these guys to ask themselves when the Chiefs are able to bring in a guy that's as productive as this.
And I hope that that's the way it should raise the floor. This shouldn't be a ceiling move. This is raising the floor of play on the field. And I like that concept for a team that is seasoned, that has the experience, that maybe needs that push to the next level to try and run it back and get to that repeat level. Now, you also need to add some fresh blood. We're going to get to that and what the current situation is at wide receiver, what could work and what couldn't. What does Matt see that I maybe am too enthusiastic about? We'll get to that right after this. We are really pumped about our new partner and sponsor of today's episode, Ultimate Football GM, the mobile game. I know you've dreamed of being a GM before. This lets you do it. Hiring the right coaches, coordinators, trading players, making draft picks, navigating through free agency. It's all included. It's challenging. It's realistic. And you can get into it now. There's no limit. You can play 30, 40 seasons if you want. And right now, our listeners get 100% free boost when they sign up for their franchise with our promo code Locked On. It lets you be the ultimate GM. That's what it's for. You go to their game store, you use our code Locked On to make sure that you get it. Download the game. It's ultimate-gm.com, or you can look it up on the app stores, whichever you prefer. It's ultimate-gm.com. That's where you can start your dynasty today. Dynasty's rolling. I am convinced of it, and I keep coming back to that concept. And what makes a dynasty rise to the next level? It's an injection of talent in somewhere that you are solid enough. Clearly, you're coming off of a championship. But how can you raise the level? How can you put more pressure on the opposing defenses? How can you make teams have to game plan to put 30 points up in order to try to win a ball game? That's what it comes back to me. And obviously, we've talked yesterday, Chris and I, about the rampant rumors here about the Chiefs being in on adding a veteran wide receiver. Do you think that fits with the overarching KC way now that Veach is implementing this? And if so, do you think it actually can get done?
Yeah, this is the caveat because, when we talked about the Chiefs way and not necessarily investing in and players over 30, superstar is the exception, so Chris Jones will probably be an exception. Patrick Mahomes is going to be an exception. Question is, hey, are guys like DeAndre Hopkins and Odell Beckham Jr. exceptions? I think a lot of people would make those cases that, yes, they are. So, and price point will certainly make a difference too. I mean, both those guys are going to carry a pretty hefty price. I think the question is just how can you structure the deal that it makes sense for the Chiefs and what's available. Hey, from the rumors that are out there and what smoke and heat we're getting, if I had to bet right now, I'd say I'd be more likely to put my money on DeAndre Hopkins as a possibility of being in Chiefs than Odell Beckham Jr. I know the Chiefs love both those guys. Why wouldn't you? I mean, I think 32 teams in the league would say they love both those guys. It's just a matter of, hey, can you make it work? And the Chiefs have the cap space that they can make it work as far as the player is, willing to go along with them. In the Hopkins case, hey, you're going to have to give up some draft picks, but there's two things I think going in the Chiefs' favor for both those guys. One is, that the compensation for receivers right now is depressed. And, you look at the Brandon Cooks deal and what the Texans were able to get back for him. That's a pretty good equivalent for, what the Cardinals should expect for DeAndre Hopkins. You're not talking about a first-round pick here. I mean, that to me would be an overpay for the Chiefs if they're giving up a first-round pick for a receiver, into his 30s. Yeah. That's not where the market is right now. So this would be a great time for the Chiefs to make a buy in that regard. The other part of it too is money. This wide receiver market has also been extremely depressed. There's not a lot of money going out to receivers right now. So, we've seen the rumors about Odell, is it 15? Is it 20? What's he looking for? Nobody's in the market to give that to a receiver right now.
Right.
And especially one that's coming off a season where they didn't play because of an injury. And Hopkins has his own injuries of the last couple of years that have kept him out of games. So, I think there's a risk for both those guys. If you're the Chiefs, that you've got to be comfortable making that investment and that risk. If it doesn't cost you a lot of resources, I think it's probably going to be worth it. I think they make the case that both those guys are the exception to the rule, that you're willing to make a short-term investment, not a 5-year deal, but a 1 or a 2-year investment on those guys right now. Yeah, I think they would be willing to do that.
In the opposite is that they can work out the money, they can do all that on the field. Break down for me what you see as the advantages to D-Hop in the way that he plays versus Beckham, and if he is healthy, the way that he plays. What do you think fits and expands what the Chiefs do the best?
Yeah, that's a really good question because they are different receivers. They got different talents and what they can do, and even though they're both exceptional at a lot of things, you'll say that hey, both those guys are players who can go get the football. But I think at this point in their careers, and especially just evaluating the injuries too, I think Hopkins gives the Chiefs something that they don't have right now. And that's not to say that, Odell Beckham doesn't. But I think to me, Hopkins with his catch radius, and if he still has that, he's still got that part of his game, which I think he does. To me, he's not as reliant on speed and agility and some of the things that OBJ is. There's certainly some things that I think that Odell would fit fantastic with the Chiefs offense as far as his skill set. But hey, with the knee injuries, it worries me just about how much of that game is still there for him. I think Hopkins has got a lot of his game that isn't dependent on that. And the Chiefs have certainly, the idea that, that Patrick Mahomes just has a receiver that he could chuck the ball to and feel like he's going to go get it 80% of the time. He's kind of got that with Kelsey right now, but Hopkins has that on a different level, a different part of the field. So I'd be curious about that because I think that I'd love to see the chemistry between Holmes and Hopkins because I think they could come up with something.
Yeah, I love the grooviness that will come from that. It's not Sammy level, but it's getting there. So bottom line, do you think this happens? Do they add a veteran or is it back to the draft?
It certainly seems like there's a lot of smoke. I don't know. I can say that it's like 100% likely that one or either of them, both of them, either one will come to Kansas City. Right now, my gut says I think it's about 60% that one of them comes to KC. And like I said, I think Hopkins is the one that's more likely. If they don't, I think the Chiefs will move on. There are still some other veterans out there that I think they would have an interest in just to be able to provide some depth into that receiver room. And I kind of get, Chiefs fans kind of wondering, hey, we've been told that all these receivers want to come to KC and they're not here. What's going on? It does tell me that Brett Veach and his staff are being pretty choosy. They're not just taking any comer. They're looking for specific types. They're looking for specific players with specific fits. And again, it comes back to that locker room. So, I do think that before we get to training camp, you're going to see more names. You're going to see some veterans. You're going to see some young guys. You're going to see some probably a draft pick, an undrafted free agent. You're going to probably see 6 more bodies, I would think, in that receiver room before we get to training camp.
I have to think so as well. Folks, it's still going to change. We have options here. We'll let you know, and we'll have instant reaction if something big like that does happen. But in the meantime, they will keep driving the KC way and get to where they need to get to. I have faith that this is going to be maybe one of the more interesting off seasons that we've gotten to. We still have the Chris Jones things out there. We have a lot of things left to do. But the draft is right around the corner, and you got to get talent. You got to get speed. And you got to get athleticism. And if you want to know about where that is, it's in the Matrix. You can grab it right now at rogueapc.com. Use my code MATRIXLOC, and you can get a nice little discount on there. That will be coming out along with the draft guide that Matt will have to sign off on once I get his approval on all my evaluations. But it will be a fun time, Matt. Thanks for taking the time with us today.
Can't wait for the draft guide, man. That's my one of my favorite things of the year. They're just going through your draft guide and everybody else's.
It's percolating, man. It's percolating. It's going to be fun. Folks, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you check out Locked On NFL Scouting. That is the Draft Dudes back with us on the network. And they are precluding. There's something we'll do in the future as I get on my next NFL-wide show that is coming here later in the year. So get prepared for that. We appreciate your time and following us on YouTube and all the audio platforms. That's where you can get the shows when they first drop. So make sure you click those buttons that give you the thumbs up and give you the sub and give you the bell. We appreciate your time. Have a good one, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.